Now, inflation. What exactly is inflation? What is it? Let's bring in Kristin Tate. She's a columnist for The Hill, specializing in economics. Very smart lady. She comes to us from Houston. What is inflation? Explain it so even I can understand it, Kristin.
Well, inflation occurs when there's just too much cash out there chasing a very limited supply of goods. Think about it, Bill. If you have something of value like a dollar, and then the government comes along and just creates trillions more of those out of thin air, what does that do? It devalues that thing, it devalues your dollar. Now, when Biden came into office, he immediately spent $1.9 trillion. He now wants to spend nearly $4 trillion more on a misleadingly named infrastructure package plus new social spending. And when I say spend, I mean he wants to just create money out of thin air using the Federal Reserve. You
Let
cannot
me stop.
just
Let me stop you there.
print.
So the Treasury Department
Sure.
prints money at the behest of what they call the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve says we need to get this amount of money in circulation so that we can spend it, we being the federal government, on building highways or sending checks to people who got hosed during COVID, whatever it may be. So the Treasury Department is cranking these dollars out, all right? Real
Correct.
paper money, not theoretical dollars, real dollars. And then those dollars go to banks, right? They go to banks. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, it's a very simple concept. If the federal government just printed a ton of money and made everyone in the US a millionaire, what do you think would happen? Consumer prices would skyrocket. Now, of course, that's a drastic example, but what's happening now is that on a much smaller scale. The government cannot just print and spend trillions of dollars every month without any consequences. Eventually, the whole house of cards collapses.
Okay.
And we're already seeing real inflation happen. You
All
went
right,
through
so
those consumer prices at the beginning of your segment.
Right. As we just proved, prices are going up, but
Yes.
salaries aren't going up to match that. So while the government can spend as much as it wants, you, Kristin Tate, and me, Bill O'Reilly, we can't print money. We have to rely on the money that we earn or someone gives us. All right. So, I mean, every time I go to the gas station, I'm paying 40% more than I paid last year to fill up my tank. And now it's going to even be more because they want to tax gas and all that business. So that means that people have less money, correct? They have less
That's
money.
exactly right. And we might even see stagflation, which is even worse than inflation because it means inflation occurs with no economic growth. And I really want to underline an important point that you made earlier, which is that inflation really hurts the working class and poor people the most, right? Because these are folks who still have to go to the grocery store and buy groceries. They still have to fill their cars up with gas. And all of these little costs really add up to people like that who are not seeing their wages increase at all. But also, in addition to the federal government, the government paying people to stay home is adding to this problem, Bill, because productivity in this country is way down.
But that's going to end. See, that'll end soon. And then people will
not if the government, not if the Democrats have their way. I don't know.
But they're not going to have their way.
Democrats are pushing for a UBI now. They want this to be the new normal, and they use the pandemic as an excuse.
But they're not going to get it, and they're not going to get the infrastructure. $2 trillion on that, they'll get half. But that doesn't help everybody because the prices that are in play now are going to stay there or go higher. All right, at least for another 2 years, they're going to stay where they are, go higher. So while the Republican Party may be able to tamp down the chaos, they're not going to be able to tamp down the gas prices or the food prices. They're going to remain. And therefore, people will start to suffer. When people start to suffer economically, when they look at their wallet and there's not the money there used to be in it, then they'll get mad and they'll vote out Biden. That's what's probably going to happen. It's not a lock, but it's probably going to happen. Now, I'm going to appoint you, Kristin Tate, the top economic advisor to Joe Biden, okay? Because he doesn't know anything about macroeconomics, and he's taken his advice from far left economists. You're not a far left economist. What would you tell the president to do to stop the economic madness?
Well, the first thing we need to do is stop the government spending. We need to let the economy drive economic growth, not the federal government. So stop the spending and get Americans back to work. There's absolutely no reason that we need to be paying people to sit at home, especially when there are so many companies and small businesses in particular who are trying to hire people. My stepmother owns some small restaurants up in the Boston area, and she can't get people to work in her restaurant still because her employees make more money sitting on the couch at home. So the first thing Biden needs to do is get Americans back to work by stopping these checks so that people, create productivity in our economy. That'll be a big first step. And then stop spending on these big packages like infrastructure, which is very misleadingly named. This big infrastructure bill that the Democrats want to pass, much of that has nothing to do with roads and bridges and highways.
Okay,
So
but you and
cut
I know
government
that
spending and
Biden
stop paying
ran
people to sit at
on,
home.
he ran on giving people stuff. So if you
Yes.
stop giving people stuff, they're not going to like you. So it's a basic, the fight is among the folks. The folks are going to get angry because their self-worth is going down, whereas on the other side, those folks are going to continue to demand money and stuff. They want it, guaranteed income, whatever it may be, and
Yep.
Biden will cave to them. That's what he will do. Last word.
Well, the Democrats, all of their solutions are absolutely terrible for this country. And they've realized the only way they can continue getting votes is by promising to give people free stuff. That is why you're seeing a big push for UBI on the left. But here's the thing, Bill, smart people in this country will find ways out of the US dollar if it continues losing value. That's why we have seen cryptocurrencies increase significantly in value over the last year. People will throw their money into real estate, into gold, into silver. Smart people will find a way out of the US dollar, and it is the poor and the working class who are going to suffer the most for this fiscal irresponsibility that we're seeing from the top down. It's going to destroy this country if it doesn't stop soon, and we may not be the world's reserve currency anymore if we have a real financial crisis in this country, which I fear that's coming.
All right, Kristin, we appreciate your point of view. Thanks for taking time to talk to us.